Please allow me to introduce to you yet another speaker that I do not know. Therefore, I'm very excited to make friends with this young man. His name is Mohammad Shahbaz Alam, and he's going to talk to us about securing PHP APIs with decentralized identity tokens. Mohammad?
Thanks, Cal. And definitely would love to catch up with you after the talk. And hopefully we'll do more chats after how we do PHPs. So welcome everyone to a Dutch PHP conference where I'm going to talk about securing your PHP APIs with decentralized identity tokens. Trust me, this is very new. It sounds new to you, but after this talk, you will be able to understand what it is and how things are. So let's get started. Again, my name is Mohammad Shahbaz Alam. I'm a developer advocate at Magic, auth provider, which passwordless authentication for all your applications need. And we are going to use Magic in this talk. So first, understand what will be the agenda of this talk. So we will understand how the user trust model of the internet is broken. And then we'll learn what is decentralized identity token. And then we'll build a PHP APIs. That will be a very simple PHP API, but that would again be a fun API to build. Then we will add Magic to it and secure that API. We are using Magic to get the decentralized identity tokens. Going forward, I'll be using decentralized identity tokens as DIDT. So user thinks of secret or password very specific to them, and they verify identity and hand them off to apps owned by various companies. 59%, a survey says that 59% of users reuse their passwords across applications. Users trust companies to store their secrets securely and responsibly. But as you know, many companies roll their own authentication without prior knowledge on security at all. User accesses the company's services or resources by showing them the secret again and again, which gets matched with the stored secret. And every time the secret is shown, there's a risk of exposing it to the hacker. We have been through this. Companies might get hacked and lose user secrets along with users' trust. 48% of customers never come back after a breach. The Equifax breach has cost them at least $1.4 billion. Hackers uses the stolen secret to impersonate a user to access their important online services. This problem compounds now that there are many companies acting on behalf of users to authenticate for them. Users' identity is no longer in their own hands, but controlled by a handful of large corporations. So what people tried before Magic is called a zero-knowledge authentication, which is a key-based model. Instead of users thinking of secret themselves, a blockchain public-private key pairs are randomly generated to access the applications. It brought us the pros and cons. The pros are users have complete control of their identity. Companies can't know users' secret, which is a more secure model, and user can use the same secret to access apps, which is a cleaner trust model. But it brought some cons that as users, we lose our passwords. We forget our password. Same happens with the keys. We lose the keys, which will lock them out for good and lose their online identity, or worse, get them stolen. The concept of using a key on the internet is too unfamiliar to most mainstream users because of the bad UX. So how Magic improved the trust is bringing the delegated key management. A delegated model in which Magic leverages large infrastructure as a service and secure user keys with hardware security models. Hardware security models consider them as the YubiKeys on the cloud. With technology that hides and protects users' private keys from companies and even from Magic. It brought additional pros, which is Magic provides familiar passwordless auth UX to users for them to retrieve their keys, which is a better UX, and they can no longer lose their keys. Magic doesn't store passwords, and cannot know users' keys or secret, which brought more security and trust. And it has native support for blockchains. The only cons is it is based on a single infrastructure as a service. So now, what is DID token? A decentralized identity token created by Magic is adapted by prior texts like JSON Web Tokens and W3C's DID protocol. It encodes as a base64 JSON string tuple representing proof and claim. It leverages the Ethereum blockchain and elliptic curve cryptography to generate verifiable proofs of identity and authorization. These proofs are encoded in a lightweight digital signature, which is shared between client and server to manage permissions, protect routes and resources, or authenticate users. This is how a typical DID token looks like and how to get one. It has its claims, which is the data representing the user's access, and then we sign that claim using Ethereum's personal sign method. And then we stringify it, convert into binary to ASCII so that it transferred easily over HTTP protocol. This is how generating a DID token looks like, which has its user's claim, which consists of issued at, IAT, extension, issuer, subject, and so on. Then we use the same sign function, which is Ethereum's personal sign method, to sign that claim to get a proof. And then we encode the DID token so it can be transported over HTTP. And the specs can be found on the docs at magic.link. And this is how you generate a DID token with Magic using Magic SDK for JavaScript libraries. With these few lines of code, you'll be able to get a DID token. So what it does, it takes the Magic from the Magic SDK, then we instantiate a Magic instance using an API key, which you will or anyone can get from the dashboard by visiting magic.link and sign up for free. Then we call a Magic auth module and call a function called login with Magic link and pass on the user's email. That's it. You'll be able to log in using this. By default, this gives you a DID token, which is valid for 15 minutes. But if you want to create a DID token which has longer lifespan, this is how you do it, using the user module and calling a get ID token function and passing the lifespan as in here, 900 seconds. You can pass more than that. So moving forward, first understand the very basic of authentication and authorization, right? So authentication is something when we say, are you the one who you say you are? And authorization is something, are you allowed to do this action, or are you allowed to access this protected route or resources? So this is how we will be using going forward. This is an API key which will be used in the client side, and the secret key which will be used at the server side. This can be visited. You can get at dashboard.magic.link. So authentication at Magic looks a bit different in terms because it's a passwordless authentication. So how we do it? In the browser application, there is a Magic SDK. The login request is made. The Magic iframe is loaded onto your application, and a login request is made to Magic service. Then Magic service sends a Magic link email to users' inbox. They click the inbox, they click the email, click on confirm link, and then the login is done. Additionally, there is a redirect parameter, and every 2 seconds once the login request is made, there is a poller going on which checks whether the login is made or not. So in this talk, what we will do is focus on the server side, but we do have a client application. That's how you can get a DID token. So what's happening here is a user or in a browser do the passwordless authentication by visiting the client, and after a successful login, they get a DID token. And when a user wants to access a protected API route or a resource, they pass the DID token in the authorization header. At the server, we extract the DID token from the authorization header, and then we do the validation of the token. And if it is valid token, we say you are allowed to do this, right? So let's build the PHP API. This is very fun, and we'll be doing a lot of things after that. So there are two different APIs in terms of the basic thing. A simple API, which normally happens because of the protected routes, or a simple API just to do basic things. But there is something called RESTful APIs, and we'll be giving the example based on RESTful APIs because it performs most of the CRUD application: create, read, update, and delete. That's what we are looking to build in this talk. So this is very simple. If you are very new to PHP, you just need to have Composer installed. If you have Composer, you init inside a blank repo or an empty directory, do open your terminal and do Composer init. It will ask you a bunch of questions similar to this: what would be the package name, the description, and the author, and things like that. And also gives you a simple how your package.json or composer.json looks like. And once you confirm that, this is what you will be getting. So I usually do this because it's easier to share among friends what you are building. So start with Composer init, and then you will have a composer.json. Then we'll be using php.env package, which is to get the environment variable from .env files in our PHP project. In the php.env GitHub repo, these are the documentation. And earlier there was different things, but now we will be using create immutable, and then we will be loading it using safe load. And earlier we used to get this with get env, which is strongly discouraged due to the fact that these functions are not thread safe, but you can still do it by doing .env create unsafe. So moving forward, we have installed the php.env package, and then we do autoload psr4 to load all of our files from src folder, and you can see here. And after this, do Composer install to get everything reflected onto your project. Then we will we'll be working closely with database and a user. So then it's up to you what database you want to use. For now, we'll go with MySQL. And this is how you create a database. The database name is blog. And then create a user. We identify the user using REST API password. And this is the username REST API user on localhost. And then we grant permission on blog using this. Then we create a table and its structure, which has a post, which is going to be a blog post. And it has ID, title, body, author picture, and created art, right? Then, since we are using php.env, we will be populating all of our environment variable, which is always a safer method to do that. Create a file.env and paste all of your environment variable in there. And then we will create inside the src folder a file called database.php. This is very simple, so bear with me. If you're an experienced developer, you will get the fun part in the secure PHP API part. And this is where we create the DB connection. We bring all of our environment variable in these variables, and then we do a new PDO DB connection with MySQL host, port, DB name, pass on the user and password, and that's how we get a DB connection. And we create a function called connect, and then we call DB connection and return this to DB connection. We'll also be creating a file called start.php, which is where we will take the database from that. We will load all of our .env files using create immutable, and we'll be doing safe load so that it checks whether the env file is available or not. Then we create a DB connection by passing the new database and calling the connect function. So the endpoint, what we are looking at is what we'll be building is a get/post endpoint, which will get all of our posts from post table, and a single post from the post table. Then we will post, which will create a post, will then update the post, and then the delete. This is what a RESTful API looks like. Then we'll create a file called inside the SRC called post.php. Then this is how we do the construct, which is the construction, the constructor of the post class. Then there are a bunch of things which you can obviously see later on in my GitHub repo. I'll be sharing the slides with you guys, but this is just to give you a hint or the overview of what it looks like. We have process request, which has get, post, put, delete, and so on, and pass on the response based on that. Then we have get all post, which is a query on selecting all of the field from the table of post, and then we do normal fetch all and then return the response. Similarly, get post can be looks like this. This is how you get a single post. Then we create the post using insert as a query, and this is as simple as that. And what we are doing here is in the author picture, we are using author's email to generate a gravatar image. Then we update the post something like this with the statement update set where, and this is how we do this. All of the codes will be linked to the slides, which is to my GitHub repo. Then we have a delete post function, which deletes the post matching the ID. It's very, very simple, very common. And then we have find to find that one particular post from the database. And then we do validate post, unprocessed entry response, if that is not processed correctly, or not found response. This is how we laid out all of our functions. Again, to just say that what all our endpoints are, these are our endpoints. And we will have another folder called API, and then in that we will have index.php, which is how we like declare the headers and select whether the post, like all of our endpoints is starting with /post or post to get all of our source. If not, we'll say that it's a 404. Similarly to this, we have a post ID from the URI second. Then we grab the request method from the request method and pass on to the post. And then the controller will do the process request, which has all of our create, update, delete, and get. And then we start the server using PHP-s localhost at 8000 and the folder API. The server gets started on localhost 8000, and we'll be able to fetch all of our posts and a single post. This is through Postman, and then we create a single post using this in the body, selecting JSON and passing on the body title, body, author. And if you do that, the post will be created. Then we update saying, this is how you update it, which is more towards creating a post. For example, like how was the talk by me? It's amazing. Let's follow Shahbaz on Twitter, right? And similarly, if you update it, it says, welcome to Dutch PHP conference. I'll follow him on Twitter. So just a self-promotion. And then we have delete. It's as simple as that. This is very normal in terms of PHP. If you have your existing PHP API, now is the time to look into. So let's secure our API using Magic, right? So how we do that? We install the vlookus PHP in using composer require. We'll do the same using composer require. And then from the Magic Labs, magic admin PHP. We do this on the same, similar to this. This is the output you will get if you run on the terminal. Then the next thing is that you need to go to magic.link, sign up for a free account, create an application. By default, there will be an application called First App. Grab the secret key from here by revealing the secret, and then update your env file to add magic secret key, or whichever the environment variable you want to name that, and paste that secret key here. And everything is from previous, so no need to update other things. Then build a function called isAuthorize. Like this is what everything is happening. So the whole process of protecting your API routes will be here. What we are doing here is taking the authorization header, extracting the authorization header from the header of the request, and which contains a DID token. So when we will be making a request in Postman, we'll pass the authorization header and paste the DID token. If it is null, we say that it's we will define a function called DID missing, and then do the response that DID is missing. The next part is where we instantiate the magic admin. We instantiate the magic by using the environment variable called magic secret key. We get a variable called magic. We take the token, magic token, and then call a validate function. That's it. This is what everything is happening. If the DID token, what you get from the front end, which we'll see in a minute how it looks and how you can get one. Once you have the DID token, we extract that from the authorization header. We instantiate a magic magic class like this. Then we call a function magic token validate. This is how you do the validation of the token. If it is valid, it doesn't return anything. But if it's not valid, it will give you some exceptions. So if it's valid, it will move on and it will return true. If not, will return false. It's up to you how you want to handle the like the exceptions. But we did have function called DID missing and DID malformed, just because if you want to show what's the error is. But and to protect all of your the create, post, delete, or update, what you just need to do is wrap all of your logic inside if statement and call the function isAuthorize. If it is a valid token, it will say true. If it's not, it will say false. That's it. You have secured all of your API endpoints with just these 3 lines of code. One is to get the extraction, get the DID token, instantiate the magic object, and call this function. That's it. So what we did is that we because we'll be using the user email. So when you extract the DID token, so what we are doing here is as simple as that, but we made a function called get email so that we extract the email from the DID token. So DID token, once we validate the token, which you should always do when you're working with the DID token, we take the get issuer from the DID token. And then there are other methods you can read more about in the docs. But what it is doing is that it is extracting the user metadata from the DID token. And DID token contains the user's email, its public address, and its issuer. So you can read more about these in our docs. And we have user meta, and then data, and then we return the email. So when we call get email, we'll get the email from the DID token, and that's how you get it. So all of this code is listed on github.com/Shahbaz17 and Magic PHP REST API. And to get a DID token, what we will do is we'll visit a link called magic-DID token. It's a front-end app hosted on Vercel.app. But you can get more of these later on. So this is how a typical a normal REST API looks like. We'll also see how the post will be made using Postman, also, this is the protected API route, which uses magic admin PHP. And this is how your JSON composer.json look after you do magic admin PHP. So all of our code will be here in magic PHP REST API. And the front end is here. What it usually do is, for example, let me go to the incognito window and try to use this. So I'll show how it looks, just so you know how you can get a DID token. By default, when you come here, enter your email and click send. This is the model which appears, and an email would come to your email address. There you click on that, and this pending model will be resolved, and you will be redirected to this something like this, which the front end code can be found on my magic-DID token on GitHub. We take this DID token, which is valid for 10 hours. As I was saying, you can modify the DID token's validity by calling get ID token. We'll be using this DID token when we'll be making any far requests. So come back and hopefully try to start this server. This is the magic PHP REST API, and this is we call. I think it's very small, but what we did is PHP space -s, then localhost :8000 -t, and pass the API, which is the API folder here. By default, it takes the index.php. So all of our routes is available. When we fetch all of our posts, it will say sending request, it is done. When we do single post, for example, this, welcome to PHP, so this is what you get. For example, when you want to create a post using this, I think it's visible. Yeah. So when we do post, to create a post by using post HTTP HTTP verb, what we need, we are passing here, because this is a simple one. This is a secured route. So if we try to post normally without the bearer token, for example, let's not pass anything, just do post, and we just need to pass on the title as well as body. How was the talk by Shahbaz? And this is the body you get. So when you do this, so I'm not handling properly well. So you will see that the authorization something is here, but it also says DID is missing on header. So in the authorization header, we will paste the bearer token by using this and pasting the bearer token which we get from the front end. We pass on this, and when we say this, the post will be created. So it did the bunch of things. For example, it checks the validity of the token and then extract the user's email. And what you will see is when we do this, we just pass on the title and body. The author is extracted from the DID token, and the email is my Shahbaz at Magic link, and we pass on the same email to get a Gravatar email, right? And same, the update is protected, similar to delete is protected. For example, if I want, I think that was post 40. If we want to delete the post with ID 40, and without the authorization header, it will say that the DID is missing on header. Let's try and pass on the authorization of header. For example, something, if I pass, I think it will show a bunch of fatal error because it's not what we meant. So try and paste the correct DID token. And this is what you typically will be doing from the front end of your application, hopefully, when you will be working with the PHP API. And then the post is deleted. Let's confirm that. So we don't have a post with ID 40. So that was for how easy it is to secure your the PHP endpoints. So other things to work around, this is the website of magic.link, which is what providing you the plug and play auth solution. And a dashboard would look something like this. From here, you will get the publishable API key, which will be used in the front end of your application. And this is from where you get the secret key for the back end of your application. And All of those things can be found on magic-link/docs, visiting admin SDK and understanding about the PHP API reference and anything around that. So this is the SDK we are using. This is open source. If you find anything which is not working for you, feel free to make an issue and raise those to us. Hopefully we'll be fixing that. Again, this is a series from how to secure PHP REST API. This is a guide which we wrote on how you do it with a RESTful API. So I think we have a community. This would be the end of the talk, hopefully. But this is the community where if you have any question in terms of Magic, PHP, or anything related to auth or authorization, the link is community.magic.link. So let's come back to the slides and continue working on that. I think this is the live URL. You can feel free to visit and see how it looks like in terms of getting the email and clicking that and generating a DID token for you. So getting started locally with Magic is very easy, and it takes literally seconds. What you just need to do, if you have your terminal with you and node installed, just run npx make magic and select the templates. And this is, we select if we want to do the Next.js, which is what the front end is built on. This is how you get the front end up and running. All of our resources related to this talk can be found. The front end could be found on Magic DID token and Vercel, as well as my GitHub URL. And all of the Magic admin SDK will be listed on docs.magic.link admin SDK PHP get started. If you want to learn more about decentralized identity, this is the place you go to. And understand what is DID. If I mentioned you don't know about DID primer, this is where you understand how you get that. Then more about what is a DID token is listed on docs. And if you have anything about docs, guides, or community, these are the links to follow. Magic Labs, Magic_Labs is what we have our presence on Twitter. If you have anything to share about the talk, as well as anything in terms of authentication authorization, feel free to tag us and let us know what all your queries are. And with this npx command, mdsbz_alum, you will have all of my social handles listed. So if you run on your terminal npx mdsbz_alum, similar to npx make magic, you will get a bunch of things. And that's how you can stay connected with me, follow me, and reach out to me if you have any questions about the talk. And that's conclude our talk in terms of what we have been talking about. So if you have any questions about the talk, I think I can take those.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Okay, Christian asked, how can the app key kept secret in the client-side JavaScript code?
You mean the front end of the code? How it looks?
Yes.
Cool. So when you go to Magic DID token, what we are doing here is, for example, go to the pages folder, and this is everything. It's hosted. You can see that, but login is what we need to understand how we do the login here, right? And we take the login from the input, what's displayed, and instantiate everything with Magic, which is this one in the component here, the magic.js. And we do the similar things, like we import the Magic from the Magic SDK, and then we check whether the window is available. If it's undefined, we then go and proceed with, say, hey, create an instance of Magic. We create that and we return that. So the next thing is about the pages and what we do, the login and index. So everything will be in the GitHub repo. If you, for example, if you want to understand how easy it is to get you started with npx make magic, in just open your terminal and run npx make magic. Let me give you a quick demo. This is how you get started very quickly in terms of, for example, test DCP, and we'll select the bunch of templates I was referring to. For example, this was the Next.js template, which requires the server, the private key and the like the publishable API key as well as the secret key. Let's go very simple in terms of hello world, what it does. So if you select hello world, it will ask for the publishable API key. Go back to the dashboard, grab the API key, paste it here, select your npm client, for example yarn, and that's it. Your application will be running up and running in localhost. This is how you get this. To understand, because I was already logged in, so it checks whether I'm logged into this. So I got logged in here. So if I do log out, it will again ask for email, check the same model, email will come to my email, and then we do the login. So if you understand the code, what it does is it also gives you the code of everything what we have listed. So code, I think we made test DCP, right? And then we do code to open all the codes. This is what we get. Authorize it. It is just a simple HTML file, which again instantiate it, script. We do the login in terms of here. For example, handle login. We get the email. We pass on something called redirect URI. You can understand more about that in the docs. But the thing which enables the login is magic.auth.login with magic link, and then pass on the email. You can pass on the redirect URI, show models. Everything can be found on docs. Cool.
Okay. Let's see. Could you please, or could you explain where the blockchain is used and what value is added from it?
Oh, so this will be much deeper, but I'll try to explain everything. So if you visit Magic Docs and go to the security section, so this is what I talked about: delegated key management and zero knowledge proofs. So what it is all about, in terms of how we do the public-private key pair. So in short, let me explain with an example. If you have worked with public-private keys, what usually happens, the private key is with a centralized server, is kept in a centralized server. But here, what Magic does is that it generates a public-private key pair, and the private key is with the user's. It's with the user, but not entirely with the user, because as you know, user forgets their password, and they will maybe not be able to handle the secure, like the private key with them. So what we do is we offload that part to something called AWS hardware security modules, and we do all of our encryption and decryption there, where even Magic is not able to see what's happening there. So if you want to understand how the client to AWS data flow works, this is the place you would visit and understand how we do the private public key pair. If you want to understand more in detail in terms of how we do, so this is a white paper listed on our Magic website in the footer. This links to a white paper on doc. This goes way beyond on what we do, what we talked about, and how we, the key-based authentication system work and enables the self-sovereign identity. So this will be like way in depth, but I think I have given you the links where you should learn more about how we do the blockchain aspect of it, the private and public key pair.
Okay, and one more. We got time for one more. Martin asked, is Magic also available as a self-hosted solution?
So I think not. What Magic does is that it's again is entirely in terms of Magic is a provider. I don't think you can do the self-hosting of it. But for example, if in terms of, for example, building your own auth using DID, I would say you would need to research on Ethereum's personal sign method, how that could be done, and understanding the public-private key pair. So what Magic does is it does the delegated key management, which is what important. It do the authentication as well as the key management in terms of that. So I don't think you can self-host the magic here. So
let's see. If an attacker has access to a user's email, how would Magic Link prevent sign-in?
okay, so again, that's all about that part where you hand your secret to someone. So if your email is breached, what would be is that, like, that would be the end of thing. Again, it's not just with email. You can do multi-factor authentication based on WebAuthn. If you do to Magic Link, this is how you do with WebAuthn. So first thing would be more towards assigning how you get using an email. Once you click on that, that's what everything happens. The clicking on the email and the polar getting resolved is the one part of a typical Magic Link looks like. But what it adds is more towards the Magic iframe loaded onto your application, and there everything is happening. The private key and the public key is there. So I think if you have more in understanding how we do security at Magic, I would say visit Magic. Again, docs would be a good place to understand the security we do, and see how we protect us from data encryptions, intrusion detection setup, end-to-end TLS encryption. All these things you can understand about phishing protection, how we do these things. In terms of your question, just if someone has access to your email, I think you should get a new email.
All righty. Mohammad, I want to say thank you for that talk. That was very informative. I do appreciate that. Everybody, if you enjoyed it, please go out to Joined In. I probably haven't given you that link yet. There at the end, I'll give you the link. And we will, you'll have a chance to rate all these talks.